Welcome to me screaming into the void. Are you ready? I'm ready, I think. Has it been the 10th time that I tried to make this video? Yes. Is it because I seem to have lost the use of words and I'm just speaking into the void as I should anyway?
Yeah, boy!
Yes. So here we go.
Okay, let's go.
I would like to start this video a little differently because some of you know me, others don't, and I think it's important for those who don't to know that when I talk about movies, I have this two-sided thing going on. On one hand, I have my very subjective opinion, and I base my likes and dislikes on what tickles my neurodivergent brain. On the other hand, I do like clean and nice takes and beautiful lighting and good sound effects and, all the stuff that cinephiles like. But I just want you to know that all these opinions that I'm screaming purposefully into the void, purposefully in the void of the internet, is because I am trying to find people who have the same or similar points of views. And also people who don't. Maybe you agree on some movies that I reviewing, and maybe you disagree with other opinions I have about other movies that I'm reviewing. And honestly, isn't that what watching movies is all about? We all bring our different tastes and our different points of views that we have acquired through our lives and just talk about movies and share our experiences, why we like them, why we didn't like them. And maybe I can learn something from you or you can learn something from me. And I mean, come on, it's movies. And if you are as avid and as greedy as a movie watcher as I am, I'm pretty sure we will understand each other just fine. So yeah, here it goes. My opinion, screamed into the void. You ready? So today we are talking about Infested, or as like the French like to say, Vermines by Sébastien Vaniček. In case you haven't noticed, this is a French horror movie, and I love most French horror movies. I think I have also watched most of them, hopefully. What I like about Vermines is that it has this kind of nice balance between taking a subject matter that is really heavy and mixing it up with a creature feature and just, that tingles you on a survival level. You know what I mean? I love spiders. Let me preface this by saying I love spiders. Before I dive into the story, I thought I would let you know a little bit what Vaniček was thinking while making this movie, because in an interview I read from Eye for Film UK, he says that this movie is not just about spiders. It's a layered story that draws parallels between these misunderstood creatures and the marginalized communities. He uses the fear of spiders, who are judged for their looks and behavior, to explore how society treats people from the suburbs. So, we have these parallels. And as you watch the movie, these parallels are very clear. And I'm not sure if some people would say on the nose. I haven't read any other reviews just because I wanted to get my thoughts out first. But I liked it the way that he made it. I liked the way that he portrayed both the people from this apartment complex and the spiders themselves. It was a romp. It was a freaking romp. I watched this movie 4 times now. Once because I had gotten I was lucky enough to get the screener because I work for a horror film festival. And the second time I watched it at the horror film festival on the big screen with my friends, and it was just absolutely amazing to see them squirm beside me. And the third and fourth time when it got out on demand. And the feels are still the same. The mood is still the same. I am still in awe about certain choices that he has made with the camera and with the lighting and with the special effects. And I feel like the spiders are believable. The creature feature is believable, and the creature design is believable. We meet our main character, Caleb, who is wanting to buy jewelry. To be precise, earrings for his neighbor's going away party. And like he needs like special ones, and he even tells the seller, listen, I don't want any of that cheap stuff. Give me the good stuff. And the seller goes behind the, at the back of... Where are we? Where are we? What are we doing here? Am I still alive? Are you still alive? Or are we just all floating in the void? Whoa. So they go at the back of the shop, and he sees all of these critters, and he sees the spider and falls in love with it and calls it Rihanna. Because why not? Love that. And he brings the spider back to his place in the apartment building, which by itself also CGI, just a massive construction. And I love the apartment building. It's like round, and insert clip here of apartment building so that I don't have to describe the whole thing. So the first thing you notice when he enters the basement, because he needs to go down to get sneakers for a friend of his who he's gonna sell it to, is that the lights don't work. You know those sensor lights that you have to kind of sometimes wave? I used to have them too, and it was really annoying because when it's dark and you're like, and it won't go on, you're like jumping around, especially if you're as short as I am. So yeah, those kind of aren't exactly working properly. They do work, you just have to wave your hands around for like a good 5 minutes party time. And you also notice that in the basement, where there is all, people have their own little, like, I don't know if you know, but when you live in apartments, of course you know, everyone has a little basement room, and there is like this large basement corridor, and there is these, different entrances to everyone's tiny little basement room. And the light for this basement is this wind-up light that only lasts like a minute, and then it shuts down again. So he goes there to get the sneakers, and he goes back to his apartment, where you see his sister making some repairs in the bathroom. She's trying to renovate the flat, and she switched off his electricity lights and warming lights in his room where he keeps his critters. And he obviously gets mad, and you already notice that there is this like dissonance between brother and sister, between Caleb and Manon. She, because she wants to sell the apartment because the building is falling apart and they need to move out and go on to better things. And he wants to stay because the neighborhood is important to him, and it was his mother's apartment, and he's obviously attached to it because it seems like their mother has passed away. He then tells his sister, yeah, you remember there's this going away party from our neighbor? And he's like, no, you didn't, right? And then he leaves to go to the party, and you meet pretty much the entire neighborhood in this apartment complex that is there, and there is music, and there's good food, and there is just all in all good vibes, right? And the earrings are for this lady who is leaving, and my dog farted.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
And he goes to party, and then he comes back, and obviously, as he comes back from the party, he notices that there is a teeny little hole in the shoebox, and the spider has, of course, escaped. Because what else would it do? And he's like, grabs the shoes that he's supposed to give to a neighbor of his who's called TN, because, well, he isn't called TN. You will find out that nobody nicknames him TN, but there are these Nike Sports TNs, and he nicknames himself after them because he only wears such shoes. So he got new ones because his are broken, and sleeps on the sofa because there is a spider loose in his room and he can't find it, and gets awakened. He is getting awakened. No, he got awoken.
Bruh.
He gets awakened by his sister drilling away again at the bathroom. And as he enters the bathroom, he sees that his ex-best friend Jordi is also there. And there is also Bautista in there and Jordi's girlfriend Lila. And they're all helping his sister out to renovate the bathroom. You see that his ex-best friend and him are also not on good terms. So Caleb grabs the shoes and goes down into the garage to meet TN and this little doggo. It's such a cute little doggo with the poo-poo. Anyway, and gives TN his shoes in the box. And then you see this piece of nonsense looking ass hat neighbor Nosy, who's like, what's in the box? Drugs? Are you dealing drugs? And Caleb is like, F no, why are you being like this? I'm also like, why are you being like this? Judgy McJudgerson, like, what the heck? I hate nosy neighbors so much. It's a pet peeve of mine.
You don't say. You don't say.
Don't be nosy. Just mind your own business. Stay in your own apartment and do your own thing and feel free to walk around and just be yourself, but don't be nosy. So TN proceeds with his shoes into the basement, wants to wear them there, but the dog kind of runs to the apartment. So he proceeds to go to the apartment where he lives. And as he puts his shoe on, you can guess what happens. Yes, indeed you do. As he tries to put on his shoe, there's a spider and it crawls up his arm, and there's more spiders and they all attack him, and the dog is just watching, and it's so creepy. Ugh. I love spiders, as I said, but I mean, having dozens of tiny little things crawling up your arm is just ugh. And then we see that Caleb keeps getting calls from TN, and when he finally calls him back, TN doesn't answer because, as you will see, he is covered in hives, as you might think, but actually it's spiders burrowing underneath his skin. Listen, again, I love spiders, but burrowing under your skin is just next level. And his dog is barking, and Caleb's eyes are TN's eyes are bleeding, and it's just, yeah, he's dead. He's dying. Died. Done. So through his dog's barks that the neighborhood is noticing, there is this entire brigade of neighbors that has come in front of TN's apartment, and they're like, hey, the dog is barking. And Caleb is like, yeah, he tried calling me and I tried calling him back, but he doesn't pick up and the dog is still barking. Something must be up. And nosy neighbor, Nosy McNoserson, decides to kick in the door, and they notice that he is dead, and they call the ambulance, and the cop is there, and they said, listen, we have to barricade the whole building because we don't know what this is. And the nosy neighbor is like, he obviously OD'd, and Jordi is like, he obviously didn't, those are not OD hives. And you know that Jordi knows that most probably it's a spider. And with every scene where you see the spiders, they seem to be getting bigger, which ups the ante for the whole film, because on one hand, you have these spiders burrowing into you, and killing you. And on the other hand, you have them just growing bigger, which is no fun. Okay? And the friends are like, listen, just admit it. This is coming from you, Caleb. Did you get a spider? And he's like, what are you saying? What are you insinuating? And they're like, come on, just admit it. And he's like, yeah, okay, fine. I bought a spider, but it was this tiny. These spiders are this big. It cannot be the same thing, right? They're back in his room, and Jordi opens a shoebox, and there is just dozens of tiny spiders coming out of the shoebox, and they manage to close it in time and duct tape it nicely shut so that they can't escape. But that scene was ugh. So now back at the apartment, the friends group, they're like split in two. On one hand, Manon and Jordi are like, listen, we need to get out of here now. And on the other hand, Caleb is like, we can't just leave our neighbors. We need to warn them in case they don't know. And then we can leave. So as Caleb and his friend Bautista are trying to, alert everyone, and everyone is already either dead or dying and not answering the door, nosy neighbor is back and starts hitting them back into their apartment. Like, what the heck? What the heck, my dude? And it's like, this neighbor is a freaking racist, okay? Because he prejudges everyone. He prejudges everyone. And I hate it. So he enters Caleb's apartment and he's like, what are you keeping in that room? You're keeping drugs, aren't you? And Caleb's like, no, do not go into that room. Don't you dare go into that room. And no, I don't have any drugs. Like, what the heck is wrong with you? And the neighbor then is like, goes past him. And he's like, you know what? Fine. Go into my room. Go check it out. I don't give a schlick anymore, okay? You go into my room. You do what you need to do. I warned you not to go in there. Have fun with it. He notices the box that has been duct taped and starts stabbing at it like a maniac. Like, what? Who just takes a shoebox and starts stabbing it? Then the spiders come out and he obviously dies. Right? So, after that, they decide, listen, there's spiders everywhere. We're going to go into the parking and we're going to escape through there. Good plan, right? So the whole friends group runs to the parking, and to get to the parking you have to go through the basement, which, remember, with the light, 1 minute, and the whole stairwell thing before that. Okay, so they go down into the basement, and this is where you notice they enter and it's covered in cobwebs. And there is this wonderful scene where the camera pans out and does a double 360 take to show you that the entire basement just looks like a spidery cobweb hole. Obviously, Leela starts freaking out and she's like, no, sir. No. We shall not do this kind of terrible, asinine thing of going through this hole. What they notice, though, is when the light goes on, the spiders freeze, which is good for them. So Manon, the sister of Caleb, she's like, you guys run ahead and I will keep the light on so that they all freeze. And as they go through this thing, by the way, fun fact, the entire hallway was built in a studio because Vaniček wanted it to really feel like there is no up and there is no down. There is just spider webs, cobwebs everywhere. And you hear this clicking sound of these spiders. Oh, that was just like... Every time I hear it, I feel like... Manon is like, I'll manage. I'm quick. And then she hopscotches through the spider's webs, and the light goes out, and she freezes. And then you see this close-up of her face and the spider web, and she switches on the light, and there's the spider right here. And then Caleb is like, run, just run, go for it. And she just tears out of there like nobody's business. And then they notice that the cops are barricading the door to the garage, and they're not letting them in. And not only that, to make matters worse, they throw tear gas into the basement. These tiny little pieces of nonsense. It made me so mad because you had this friends group trying to escape these spiders that are absolutely a menace. Not because they want to, just because it's in their nature. And you have these 5 friends group trying to get out, and the police just pushing back the door and throwing in tear gas. So they peel into the darkness through the scuttling spiders and the spider webs. They manage to go through and out. They realize that Jordy isn't around. And as Caleb enters back into the basement, he notices that Jordy is already on the ground, covered in spiders and spider webs. There is no way he can get out of that. No way in any kind of possibility. And Leela also, you hear her scream, and she tries to also get at her boyfriend because, I mean, it's the love of her life. He's like there, covered in spiders. And I was not okay. And then, they pull her out, and they manage to get into this tiny little room, which had lights on at some point. And she's crying because you can hear Jordy's screams while the spiders most probably are burrowing into him. And since they're this big and not anymore this tiny, it must hurt a lot. And you hear his screams, and Leela is crying, and Caleb is crying, and they're on the floor. And then the police shuts down the electricity. And all you hear are Leela's screams. And it's blood-curdling. It is by far the most intense scene of the entire movie. And I was absolutely having all the feels. It was such a well-made scene. I love when directors know what to put where and when and why. I liked that the entire cinema went dark. I liked that everyone in the cinema was quiet. There was this silence. The silence where people are feeling what the characters are feeling. And that's what I like. And that's why I say I'm so subjective about movies. Because if you manage to make me feel just 1/100th of what the character is feeling, you, in my opinion, have done your job. So, yeah, heart-wrenching scene. It took me some time to recuperate, because then you have Bautista, who finally finds this wind-up light. These tiny little, I don't know, in the 80s and 90s we used to have that, where you wind it up and then it would shine a light for a while, and then it'll stop again and you'll have to wind it up again. So Bautista finds one, and he's able to shine a light, which I like a lot, because he is also kind of the voice of reason, trying to get everyone's head out of this absolute devastation that they're in. And he's like, guys, we need to have a plan. We need to get out of here. We need to, focus on what we need to do now. And he's like, let's go up. That's the only way. Let's go up. So all of them decide to do that. So they get out of that room where they could catch a breather. And we are back outside, and the spiders got even bigger. They are now this size. And there's like 20 spiders just there. And they have this flare light, you know, the ones that you can light by striking them, and then it just fizzles light. I don't know what to call them, flares, I guess. And they are able to keep the spiders at bay, and they are able to, you know, go back into the hallway to be able to go to the staircase that leads them up. They open the door to the stairwell. They manage to reach an apartment that was under construction somewhere a little higher up. And there they catch a breather again. And that's where Leela is standing at a window, and Caleb goes to her and is like, I'm sorry. She's like, don't worry, I'm not gonna jump. And they kind of talk it out about how, you know, he kind of fell apart with Jordy, and Jordy left, and they could never mend their relationship, and that he regrets it. And yeah, it was a nice scene too. It was nice to catch a breather also. I like that our breathers are just these intense moments between the characters and us just getting into the humanity of it all. So that was very much appreciated by me. I liked it a lot. And after that, obviously we go back into romping and stomping, because the police bursts in with these, you know, these, not guns, they have these heavy sacks that come out of it, like, yeah, they come with those and tear gas, and these people, and one of them starts choking Bautista, and Caleb obviously takes this hacky sack kind of gun thingy. I don't know what it's called. Just, you know, leave it in the comments below in case you know what it's called. That thing with the thing where you just, and then a sack of something comes out and just hits you, which is non-lethal but hurts like hell. And yeah, Caleb shoots a police officer with that because the police officer was choking Bautista, which, I mean, what the heck? Next scene, we see them all in the garage, and Caleb is all bloody because he got beaten up real bad, and Bautista is tied up behind him, and he's like, listen, buddy, it's not looking good. And you see that he's gotten burrows of spiders in his neck. It's like, I'm gonna go for it, and you're gonna tell my heroic tale, okay? And he's like, nah, listen, we can do something. It's like, there's nothing you can do. And he hides Bautista, and he runs towards the cop that is blocking the entrance to the basement, because the spiders are in the basement. And as he just rams into the cop and jumps into the door, you see this black door frame with this black hole, and you know what's gonna happen. And you just see all of the spiders just creepy crawling out of it, and there is a police shootout, and the spiders that have become as big as my table, like big ass spiders, are attacking, and there's like a lot of them. So you have this shootout between the cops and the spiders, and you have Caleb and Manon and Leela who are now making a run for it. Manon is on one hand, Caleb is on the other hand. He runs to Manon through the entire fire shooting brigade thingy. They manage to seek some kind of shelter in this truck kind of a thing where they break in the glass and they lie there on the floor, and that's where you get another nice moment between brother and sister. And she looks at him and she's like, why don't we ever talk, and what happened? And he's like, don't talk to me like I'm dying, okay? I got shot in the leg. It was very sweet. I liked it a lot. And then you see these spiders crawling up the windows, and you think that all is lost until somebody does the light thingy with a car and starts blasting the horn while there is also a shootout. So they're like, oh my god, I mean, who is that? The only one who survived, Leela, obviously. And they run towards car and they, try to drive through the entire mess of the shootout and the spiders and everything. And there's just this one spider right at the entrance of the garage, which is closed and has to be opened manually. And the spider is as big as the car. And because the car lights are on, the spider doesn't move. And I mean, obviously you could ram the spider, but I'm like, maybe it was more intelligent for them to, for Caleb to get out of it, the car, and go past the spider and then open the garage door. Because he does it like this, that he's standing there, and he tells Leela, switch off the lights, switch off the car lights. And she switches them off. And the spider scuttles away. And then he is able to open the garage door. And you have this wonderful, illuminating light, just completely drowning everything else out. And you can just literally feel the sunlight on you, the light has arrived. The light is here. We have been saved by the light. Which is also obviously a spiel that they're playing with. By that, Vaniček is playing with the whole light and dark of it all. That's basically the end. I should have said spoilers from the beginning, but I'm recounting the entire movie, so you should have known. Shouldn't you? Now, listen. I know that some people are just going to be like, it's a pretty straightforward movie. And yes, it is. But it's all about the effects. It's all about the visuals. It's all about the characters. It's all about a good casting. I feel like a lot of movies that have these simpler thematics have, if they are done well, and they have a good cast, the vibes. I've seen that also in Talk to Me. Same thing. Good cast, good vibes. Then you have a sure thing. And plus, the thing is also not to forget, Vaniček comes from this kind of neighborhood. He knows what he's talking about. And you notice also that a lot of things that were written and how the characters talk to each other, it's inspired by what he most probably has gone through, the relationships he has had, the conversations that he has had with people, right? So I don't think it's a bad thing if a movie seems straightforward and if you have something that is a little less, less nuanced, as one might like to say, when talking about an A24 movie. And not all A24 movies are nuanced, okay? But I'm talking, the hereditary of it all. And some Christmas snobs would also start saying other movies. This is the only movie that just pops out of my head right now. But on the whole, a good movie has its brilliant moments, has also its downtime where you can catch a breather, even though I don't know how much of a breather I caught while listening to Leela's screams in the dark. That was... I'm still not over it. Do I recommend this movie? Yes. Would I recommend it to you if you suffer from arachnophobia? Maybe not. It depends on you.
Me?
I had a lot of fun. Again with the fun. I had fun watching it while there was this whole chasing scenes between spiders and humans. And I had a lot of feels when watching the other scenes where it got to a more human level. I recommend this movie. I like French movies anyway. French horror movies. And if you would like me to comment on any other movies that you think you might want to hear about or hear my opinion about. Let me know. So this is me signing out from the void. Bye.